This is the What's Next podcast, Houston's #1 platform where I invite creators to share their journeys and give us a depiction of their visions. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next? Episode 65, y'all. Opening song by the Nice Guys. It's an over toast. Let's go.
Yo, it feel like 95.
Yeah.
Sachi on my body. Biggie
Jigga.
puffy on that ball and
Is a hobby now. Yo. Houston, Texas. Welcome back to episode number 65 of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. Really quickly, salutations to everybody. Listen, Houston, I need you to pray for your boy. I need you to pray for me and all. To whoever, pray for me, man. Keep me in your thoughts and prayers. Keep me in your thoughts and prayers. Y'all need y'all to pray for me, man. Because it's consuming. Yo, you already know what I came to do, man.
Sweetheart, one day you should
Shout out to my homegirl Demaria, man. I love the record and I'm gonna play it on every chance, every episode that I get, man. As we move forward, Houston, Texas, you already know what time it is, man. Shout out to the 2020 graduates. I apologize, it's your school. You had to end like this. Let's go. Come on, man. Let's go. Yeah. 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 Let's go, Demaria. Let's go.
Heard about me, but it's hard to find me. I lay low with my team, plotting on a milli. See, I don't work for free. Pay me what you owe me. I won't show up for free. I only come for money. If you want it, then let me know. If you wanna show, send my fee before. I got what they asking for.
Here we go.
Hey, how's it going, man?
All right, what's the deal, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. I am well. Listen, Marco, welcome to the What's Next podcast. This is episode number 65. And I'm greatly appreciative that you took out the time to be on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Listen, man, let's introduce our social media handles so we don't disrupt the flow of the conversation when we get to that point in the conversation.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. I mainly use Instagram nowadays. My handle is at I.F.A.J.M, all one word. I do have a Twitter by the same handle, I.F.A.J.M. It's kind of low on the numbers, so if you guys want to bump me up a little bit, I'd be grateful.
Okay. And my name is John Ross Dike I, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dike and still _visionary. Houston, Texas, Cali, if you will. Connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my fan page on Facebook, and visit my website, stillvisionary.com. Marco, directly in front of me, I have all my t-shirts that I sell, and people can shop at stillvisionary.com/apparel. Listen, Houston, Texas, this is going to be a very, very special episode for me because let me think of the correct word that I want to use, Marco. The inception and the foundation of my podcast is talking to people that I have grown up with, that I have interacted with, that I have seen their journeys full force and studied off of them. But this podcast that I'm about to do with you today is a little different, and we'll get into that in a second, right?
Yeah.
I want to start off with this, man, because you're new to my podcast. And again, I'm so appreciative. What should people take from the conversation that we're about to have, from your journey as a jazz writer, and anything that you think that people should take from this episode?
Oh, man. Heavy question, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I would say the one thing I want people to take away is that, I mean, you really never know like what you want to do until you like, you know, you invest a lot of time into it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that, and we'll probably discuss this soon later in the podcast, but you'll find that like, man, I have a love for so many things, but you know, it's hard for me to decide sometimes like what exactly I want to do. But the moment I put like all my time and effort into jazz and into music in general was when I found that, yeah, this is something that I want to do. So, I mean, you can have so many loves for so many different things, but you never really know what you're going to do until you just start doing everything.
Okay, man. So, let's familiarize the people on how we met. First of all, I want to make sure that I say this, that you are the first person, again, in California, right, that I don't know from prior to 2019. I want to get that. I want to get that out first, and I want to further on that notion by saying that if this is what my podcast is going to go to throughout using like the telephone to talk to people on the podcast, I'm grateful that you are the first person that I'm getting to talk to in that lane, right? And I hope that it opens up doors for me to find creatives across the country to be able to highlight their stories and just piggyback and see how we are similar, right? Yeah. So with that being said, 2019 Labor Day weekend, I went out to Los Angeles, California. This was my first time in LA, and I wanted to stay as close to LA because I wasn't from there, and I didn't want to have any hiccups like getting lost or doing anything like that. So I wanted to stay as close to the airport because I've heard that LAX is a place that can be extremely crowded, right? So,
yes, sir.
So I didn't get to stay in LA, but I stayed just north of LA, and what's the name of that city again? I can't think. You
were in Northridge, right?
Northridge, right? So I got there on a Friday. Saturday, I spent the whole day doing a podcast. I did 3 podcasts that Saturday, and I was going home that night, or rather, I'm sorry, it might have been Friday that I got there. I was going home, or whatever day, and I decided to go to McDonald's, and my sister.
Yeah, you got a good memory, man.
I decided to go to McDonald's, and this is Houston, Texas, Cali. This is where I met Marco, and he was in the drive-through line, right? And I was just like, hey man, I'm out here from Houston, the first time in LA, and I would like it if you just checked out my podcast. So we exchanged IG information, right? And we've been following each other ever since. So that is how we met, man. And like I said again, if this opens up doors for me to talk to people that I may or may not have interacted with across the country, I owe it all to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, that's good. Yeah, I remember about that. I like reminisce about that every time I see you post something. Yeah, I'm just like, I met this dude in the drive-thru, and we just, it's crazy how things happen like that, right?
Yeah, it is, man. Because I think that moving forward, we'll have a relationship when it comes to film production, TV production, music production that would have been initiated from that interaction in the McDonald's line.
Yeah, and I'm glad I got the chance to meet you, man.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So, man, this podcast is all about talking to creatives, man. I myself, as a creative, have often wondered the journeys that people take to make it to that level, right? So when I bring people on the podcast, it's solely to hear their story, right? And I have, and in my process, and I've come to this point where it was certain steps that I had to take to get to this very point right here where I'm talking to you, even making it out to LA, right? So when I bring creatives on the podcast, first of all, you have that desire, that creative to do something that's outside of the norm, going to college, getting a 9-to-5 job, working to provide for a family. You want to do something that's intangible to that. So this segment that I call Creativity Comes from Experiences, right? Take me to how you started in the whole jazz aspect of it, because I remember you telling me that you played the keys or you played something like that, right? And so,
trumpet and piano. Yeah.
Okay. And I got a story for a trumpet too. So creativity comes from experiences. Take me to how you got started with all of that.
Yeah. I was, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where we could afford instruments. And, my dad played trumpet a long time ago. And he kind of got me into the interest of like playing an instrument, because I remember the band director at the time, 5th grade, Joe Lenigan, he like walked around to the classroom, 5th grade. He asked if anyone wanted to like do the band class. It happened at like 12 o'clock, which is, I think we had lunch at like 12:45. And so like, I really didn't have a super like fond interest in playing music, but what I did have an interest in was getting out of class early. So I mean, that's why I was like, oh yeah, I'll play a trumpet. I'll play an instrument, whatever. And then I remember Googling, like all the instruments. I was like, oh, I wonder what I want to play. I heard, Joe Lenigan asked us like if we want to play clarinet, trumpet, bass, tuba, euphonium, any of those instruments. And so I Googled all of them, and I ended up picking the trumpet, not because really, subliminally maybe, but like not really because my dad played it, but I saw that it had 3 buttons, and all the other ones had like a lot of buttons, like saxophone had like a hell of buttons, clarinet. I was like, oh, what the heck is this? And so I picked up the trumpet because it looked like the easiest. Spoiler alert, it's not that easy. Unfortunately, it's not just 3 buttons. Let's see. And then, I follow my path through there. I go through 5th, 6th grade, go to middle school, off Sierra in Fresno and Clovis. And, I remember being in 7th grade, I was in the wind ensemble. I was playing trumpet, like in a classical setting. Up until this point, it had been just classical music. But then I remember being approached by one of my fellow classmates. I think it's like Brennan Mills. He played guitar at the time. And I think he approached me and said, you should join the jazz band. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't know. I was like, I've only listened to classical music, and maybe rock and roll from the records. And so what I did was I ended up Googling like famous jazz artists, and I stumbled upon John Coltrane,
I'm familiar.
One of the masters, the legends, and I remember watching this video of his solo on Giant Steps. And what they did with that video is really cool, actually. They made it a very visual experience. They had transcribed his solo. They had written it down in music notation and, basically displayed it on the screen as it went along. So it added every note as John played them. And so I remember thinking, I was like, oh my God, like there's so many notes. He's playing so fast. And I was like, is this what jazz is like? I was like, sure. Yeah, of course. I'm down, and that's all was what got me into jazz, I would say. Little did I know at the time, like, cause Giant Steps actually is a very complex, tune to, improvise over. It's got a lot of weird stuff that not many people are used to playing. But yeah, I remember that getting me into the jazz band. And then the director of the jazz band, Paul Lucchese, he was one of the most influential educators that I've ever experienced. He would always play new music for us every single day, every time we had class. He would always play a new record, like exposing us, finding stuff that we liked and finding stuff that we didn't like. Because man, the word jazz is like, what is that really? Right? Like what genre, like there's a billion different jazz artists and people you could argue that are jazz artists, people that you can argue aren't jazz artists, but it was his job, he felt, to expose us to all of that, just to see what we liked and we didn't like.
Yeah. So let me ask you, and I don't mean to cut you off. Let me ask you.
No, yeah, you're good, man.
So what is the difference between classical and jazz?
Oh, great question. Yeah. we can get into the rabbit hole about it, right? But I mean, I guess the difference is that, well, I mean, for one, the origins are way different. Like classical music, you could argue is like stemmed from like Western Europe. That's where it got really popular. Like Western European, like Beethoven, Mozart, Brahms, any of those classical guys. But jazz is that's an African American music. You know, that's like, you know, and that stems from, that's got a whole, you know, bunch of, man, there's so much richness and depth to that because of where it came from with, like, you know, you've got origins in the Negro spirituals and like all the, like the West African drumming, all of that stuff combined with, and don't get me wrong, combined with, you know, Western music, Western classical music, the combination of Western classical music and spirituals and like West African drumming, that's what ends up creating this like kind of melting pot thing of jazz that kind of, I guess you could argue, and my teachers can harp on me later when they hear this. I'm pretty sure it came from, you know, New Orleans, you know, it stemmed, that's where it kind of all came together. Yeah. So that's one aspect. I mean, the main thing that you hear is improvisation. Like classical music, no improvisation. But jazz, improvisation. You can hear people.
In terms of the instrumentalists.
Yeah, in terms of the instrumentalists, there's a character that you can. I mean, you could argue, classical music, you could hear players too. You could know the names of each player just by hearing them. But jazz is way more expressive. You can hear, like you play a record of John Coltrane and I can tell you that's John Coltrane and here's why. Like what differentiates one instrumentalist from another. You can tell.
So as a jazz trumpeter, right? If you had to define yourself with one word, what would that word be?
Melodic. Yeah, melodic, I would say. I would say the reason why I would say I prefer, or I describe myself as a melodic player, is because, I don't know, I think I prefer, like, even though I started out with like the flashy stuff of like, you know, John Coltrane, sheets of sound, like 1 million notes per second, I would find myself, due to my many influences, preferring a more melodic approach to improvisation than kind of like a more notey approach, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Meaning you play how you feel and not what you're reading on paper.
Yeah, I guess you could. You could argue that. I guess now to swing what you were saying another way, like reading on paper, like in jazz, you don't really have music a lot of the time. So everyone's really, you know, playing without music. But I guess, you know, to classify it, like, if you were to say like reading from paper to like in a jazz setting, it would kind of be like intellectual playing where like, you know, you were learning a bunch of, you know, piano stuff over that video you were saying.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of, yeah.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh man, I lost my place.
You're talking about like the differences, like reading off a sheet of paper. And what I meant by that is just following the notes on a measure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, man, if you were to translate that into like a soloing perspective, because like we're not all reading from pieces of paper. We're not all doing that. We may have like chords in front of us, but for the most part, we're all off the cuff, all on our ears and stuff. Now, if you were to say that like reading from paper, like in a soloing setting, you could kind of describe that to somebody as, even though they're not reading from paper, like actual sheet music, they're maybe playing in a way that is not what they're hearing inside their heads, not like what the melodies, not what the the music is telling them to do, but what their studies have told them to do. Like in jazz school, especially, we're taught like, oh, you can use this scale over this chord and it's going to sound good. So, that's like an intellectual approach, like tackling things from like almost like a tactical or strategical way rather than just going by feeling.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where I want to take you next. Okay. You talked about your influences. I want to get who are your top 3 influences? And then I want to go to something else. Who are your top 3 influences?
Man, what a hard question. Stevie Wonder is number 1.
Okay.
Frank Ocean, number 2.
Okay.
And then, man, I would say this pianist, Gerald Clayton, number 3.
Okay. So, you mentioned the video. So, my dad, and let me tell you how the trumpet correlates to me. My dad, shout out to him. My dad, when I was very young, he wanted me to learn to play the piano. So, Houston runs like a loop, right? So what I mean by that is we have a freeway in the city called 610. And no matter where you get off or get on that freeway, if you drive around and stay on the freeway, you'll get back to that same point, right? So we have we don't have a lot of beaches in Houston, but we have this one island called Galveston. On the way to Galveston.
Sorry, you have what?
You have
one what?
An island close to Houston, Texas. Yeah, called Galveston, right? And Galveston, on the way to Galveston, there's this place called Clear Lake, Texas. It's a city, right? So we used to go to piano lessons over there. Needless to say, every black kid wants to grow up and play basketball. They don't want to learn the piano and stuff like that, or how to do math at a high level. They want to play basketball and football. So piano didn't sit well with me. But I was in the 10th grade one year, and I told my dad, hey, Dad, I got to portray Louis Armstrong for a world history project. Can you buy me a trumpet? My dad bought me a brand new trumpet, which I still have to this day. A black trumpet, gold trims, and I've never learned how to play it, right? But I keep it as a token of, listen, I use that to try to connect with my kids who are trumpeters that I teach in high school, right? So that was a little funny story about having a trumpet. And
that's awesome.
And I wish, you know what, if you had your trumpet in your hand, I would ask you to teach me how to what a basic chord is on the trumpet.
Oh yeah, you want me to grab it right now?
You can grab it. You grab it. I'll go grab mine. Houston, Texas, and I'm back with my trumpet. Go ahead, teach me what a chord is on here, man.
Okay, you got it. Well, here's the funny thing about that. Actually, so a trumpet technically cannot play a chord.
Okay.
Yeah, because a trumpet is what we call a monophonic instrument. Mono meaning one, phono meaning sound. So it's a single sounding instrument. And unfortunately, which is actually a great, we can segue into something cool here. So like a trumpet can only play one note at a single time.
Okay.
So technically it can't be a chord, because a chord is like 3 or more notes.
Okay.
Played at the same time.
Okay.
But what we can do as trumpet players is we can play arpeggios, which is the notes that would be in a chord, but just played in succession. So like if you have, like, I got my piano actually right here. So can you hear that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so that's like a B flat major chord. So that's got 3 notes in it. And so unfortunately we can't play that all at the same time on trumpet, but what we can do is, again, arpeggiate it. And so we can play it 1 note at a time. So those are the same notes, yeah, but unfortunately we can't play them all at the same time.
So there are no chords. Okay. There are no chords with the trumpet.
Yeah, it can only play 1 note at a time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So let's get into this. So I mean, I don't know how well you've kept up your trumpet, but is it nice and oiled?
No, it's not.
Okay, yeah. Can you move the buttons at all?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. We can work with that.
Yeah.
All right, John. All right. So that first note that I played is it's like a C on trumpet, and so what it is no, it's no valves. It's all open, just as the horn is. Nothing pushed down, nothing.
Okay.
Okay, but the tricky thing about making a sound on the trumpet is that it's produced by buzzing. Okay. So you see that you have a mouthpiece on you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah. So that mouthpiece right there, it's almost like a funnel for your buzzing. What it does is it like keeps your lips like in formation for your lips to buzz at the like optimum, I don't know, frequency or whatever. Because you can't really, you can buzz your lips without it, but it really helps to have that mouthpiece. So it's kind of just like, so it's all about air.
Okay.
So you want to, really when you take a breath, you want to take a nice deep breath from the bottom of your stomach and then play. But what you need to do is that when you have that mouthpiece in front of you, keep your lips almost like in a who shape. Now, can you say who for me?
Who?
Okay. You see how your lips like kind of come forward a little bit when you say the word who? Yeah, that's kind of what you want to approach the trumpet mouthpiece like. You want to like almost like you're kissing it.
Okay.
And, yeah, you're not like smooching it up or anything, but like that who shape. And you're also wanting to keep a small aperture, and what that aperture is that small hole formed by your lips. And so you want to keep that at like to where air can flow out, but not like completely like cut off.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go ahead and pick up the trumpet.
Okay.
And kind of like before you pick it up, lift it up to your face. You want to make sure that the mouthpiece is like centered on your lips.
Okay.
And you've got that nice who shape. And go ahead and just try to give it the best shot you can. Hey, there it is. That's a B. That's a C right there. There you go. That was actually a pretty good sound. I was very surprised. I was like, "You got someone else there?"
No, over the years, no, nobody's here right now. My wife went to her mom's crib. Over the years, I've teeter-tottered on YouTube with how to play the trumpet. So,
oh yeah,
and some kids at the high school I teach at have taught me something here or there, but I haven't worked on it since then.
Oh, perfect, man. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, man. I learned a lot about the trumpet in this one thing. But that video we were talking about, my mother-in-law actually is learning to play the piano, and I'm thinking, any kids that I have, I want them to be instrumentalists because I believe that it helps them think on a level that regular like athletes don't have. I mean, everybody thinks at a depth, but being able to harmonize and be one with playing a piano and singing, or playing a piano and following a tempo is something that it's unmatched. So when I said that's what I learned, that literally I've been struggling with what a flat and a sharp was, and then when I read the Dummy for Pianos, and my mother-in-law told me that's how I equated it. So that's what I decided to put on my IG story at one time.
No, that was great, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, your tone was like, man, it was the most precious, like not precious thing, but like the most like pure thing to see you just be like, man, I just learned what a sharp and a flat was. Yeah, like that. Like I'm so excited, but it's like to me, I'm like so surrounded by that like every single day. I've kind of lost that kind of love for it. That childlike. Like discovery, because I'm immersed in it. I've studied it, and it's become, the luster is starting to fade. I mean, not completely, but we all start to fall out of love with things that we've been around for a while.
So let me ask you, in falling out of love, how do you what is the next level for a trumpeter, right? Because when I text you and I was just like, hey, you know what? Let's do the podcast. And I know that I didn't give you time to warm up, which way you're doing a phenomenal job about it. You shocked me. I think you've done a podcast before, but if this is your first podcast, again, I'm super appreciative. But
yeah, no problem, man.
how do you go from being a trained classical musician to a jazz trumpeter to making some money and seeing your dream come true?
Yeah, man. Wow. I'm gonna have to take like a couple seconds to think about this.
And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, as of recently, man, you know, I'm college educated. I teach high school, right? And I love the direction and what being a teacher and educator does to the kids. Of course, we're going to have some kids in society that are going to fail, okay? And I think that obvious notion is what we as educators and even the administrators in school try to steer away from. They want to make sure that everybody can be successful. We have this law in Texas called No Kid Left Behind. It's not necessarily a law, it's just a proclamation. We don't want to leave any kid behind, right? But the truth of it all is that some kids will have to fail. Some kids will repeat. Some kids will drop out. And when they do, we get like legends like Nas. We get legends like, you know, Jadakiss. We get legends like Jay-Z who dropped out and you know, made something of themselves. So when I ask you that, within going and getting educated, now that you've gotten the formality and you teach it, how do you go from teaching it now to making money being a jazz player?
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to touch on one thing first, man.
Ahead,
what you were saying about like,
go ahead.
Yeah, what you were saying about like, you know, your kids like failing. I was like, man, isn't that part of, you know, the education, right? You know, I feel like failing is equally, you know, as important as being successful at something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all would think that, but you know, it's different when you look at it from a lens as an educator or as a parent, as a parent. So,
no, exactly.
That's the real world that sometimes if you don't put in to what you're doing or learn how to do something, even if you don't want to learn it, then you won't be successful at it. That's how the world goes. But not in education. In education, you have to ensure success, right? And that's where I am right now. But you know, I just wanted to know that, man, because you know, I mean, even in this, I would have never known. I know that the trumpet is a treble instrument. You'd have to, if you're playing it and you're looking at a sheet of music and notes, you're looking at the treble clef. I know that, but not knowing that it was what did you say? It was a monosonic instrument. I didn't know that. So how do you go from turning that knowledge into making it a career?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I'll tell you when I reached that point. You know?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I can only express the words of my teachers at this point because I feel like I'm not necessarily in a place where, you know, I've even reached that point of like a career, you know, in trumpet. So I'm gonna echo the words of my masters here. I would say the most important thing is to be able to do everything as a trumpet player. You know, just like, you know, just because I started my focus in jazz now as a trumpet player, that doesn't mean I forgot or I never work on the classical fundamentals. You know, it's so important that if someone were to call me and say, or like has called me in the past saying like, hey, I need you to record this thing for this film I'm working on. If I've got the score for this film, it requires this, and this. You got to have these mutes. You got to, you know, we're going to be playing this. Here's the music. Take a look at it. Tell me what you can do. Well, you know, you look at the music and it's all classical repertoire. There's no improvising. You know, what I learned in jazz school is not going to help me here. Like it really won't. But I still retain the information that, you know, I started out with, as a classical trumpet player. I know how to read. I know how to read music. Let's see. Like I can, you know, I can hit high. You know, I can do whatever. You know, they need me to. I need to be like a tool for them. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you are, you know, as much as we love, you know, music and romanticizing music, the people who get paid are the people who are like needed for this project that has a budget.
Yeah.
As a musician, you're not the budget holder.
Yeah.
You're the one, you know, getting paid with the budget.
Yeah.
You know, you often aren't, unless you're the composer or whatever, or the musical director, the people hiring musicians.
Yeah.
You're often not the person spearheading. You're part of the you know, the foundation, the groundwork that is being part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Like movies is probably like the number one thing that musicians get paid for.
Yeah.
Or video game music,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So like, if that's where the money is,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you better be able to know how to, you know, play where the money is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, your jazz chops aren't gonna, like, if the music that pays the big bucks isn't required to have a soloist, I was like, well, you know, sorry, you know, we're gonna hire someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cutthroat like that sometimes, man. You know, like, oh, you can't play this high? Oh, sorry, we'll just find someone who can.
Yeah. Yeah. How many hours a day do you practice?
Oh man. Let's see. I mean, as you see, like on my Instagram, you're gonna find that I don't play trumpet very much. I love piano at the moment.
Yeah.
But I practice that maybe about like 2 hours a day for piano, and I'll keep up. I'll like do maintenance stuff for trumpet. I'll do like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes of like just keeping my chops up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as you probably found out as a, you know, a aspiring trumpet player like yourself, you know, like, some days you're just like not having it.
Yeah.
Like it's just not working.
Yeah.
That's because you know, your face is a muscle.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep working out or else you're going to lose that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I would say about like 2 hours on piano, 30, 45 minutes on trumpet. But I guess the thing to take away from that though is I'm always practicing music. I'm always singing. I'm always hearing stuff in my head.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What song's on your mind?
What song's on my mind?
Yeah.
Can I give you like 3 of them? There's always a lot.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say that song, I would say Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder is always on my mind. Let's see. Novacane by Frank Ocean has been my like go-to lately. And I've been listening to this, Gustav Holst is a classical, British classical composer. He wrote this thing called The Planets. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to this piece of his, one of the planets called Jupiter. And it's got this just like beautiful, gorgeous folk song that like, you know, just made me cry. And when I first heard it, and I was like, well, you know, looks like I'm just going to be listening to this for the next couple weeks. What about you, man? What you been listening to?
Oh man, I'm a big Nas head, man. And as I think, yeah. As I think of you as a trumpeter, I'm gonna go with "Life's a Bitch," and I don't mean to use that word at the end, but it's just in the track title. I love the end part where he has his father, Olu Dara, playing the cornet on the end of that record. And so,
really, man? I can't remember. Is that on what album is that on?
Illmatic.
Is that? Oh, it's on Illmatic, of course. Yeah.
Because Nas was a trumpet player at first, and his dad stopped him.
No way.
Yeah, his dad stopped him because it was gonna mess up his lip. So he wanted him to grow a little older so his lip could get stronger. By that time, Nas put the instrument down and started rapping. So I'm gonna go "Life's a Bitch," man, because of that cornet at the end of the record.
Yeah, dang. I'm gonna have to listen to that one again. I don't remember that, but I'm gonna have to. You know, I think it's been a while since I've listened to Illmatic.
No doubt.
Yeah, I watched recently. I actually watched this thing. I think Dr. Dre's like Beats Party. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I didn't.
Oh man, he's got like all the people like Dre's ever worked with. Like Eminem's at the end.
Yeah, of course.
Nas is in there.
Yeah.
Redman, Method Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, you should check it out, man.
Nas, cool. Dr. Dre produced, he produced Nas is coming off his second LP, and he produced The Firm. Nas's collaborative, Nas's collaborative effort with AZ, Foxy Brown, and Cormega back in 1997 or so, around that time. Yeah,
man. Yeah, those guys are the masters.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everyone, you know, every genre's got their masters, but like, man, like just the way, like I talk about Holst, like with the planets, and you know, you could talk about like Beethoven or, you know, Brahms or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like what we consider in the classical world, like great orchestrators. And what I mean by orchestrating is that like the parts, the way the parts sound, who gets the parts, like does the flute have the melody here? Does the cello have the melody here? Like what they want to do, because each instrument, you know, sounds different. And, you know, you can have, man, just like you can have the same notes and the same chords, you know, being played, but you give them to different instruments, and man, all of a sudden you get something, a different feeling. And I feel like, you know, like all the crazy producers like Dr. Dre, like Swiss Beats, like those guys are orchestrators. Like those guys are like, you know, just like you were asking me about like classical music and jazz, like what's the difference? Like, you know, I feel like you could draw that parallel to like, you know, like classical music and hip hop, you know, like, you know, hip hop being like an African-American, you know, art form, just like jazz was, but now they're orchestrating just like, you know, Brahms or Beethoven would be, except now they're doing it with electronics, like with samples, with, you know, the modern keyboards that they're using now, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm reminded of Quincy Jones in this very moment.
Yeah, man. Quincy. That's the GOAT right there. That's the king.
Yeah.
He used to be a trumpet player too, man.
No, that's why I'm reminded of him.
Yeah, apparently trumpet players are just the best, right? You know? Yeah. Well, it's funny. You see all these trumpet players going away from trumpet and then all of a sudden becoming super successful.
Yeah. Have you felt like that's something that you might have to take into consideration for your journey?
Yeah, all the time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard, you know, because, you know, like I was saying, like you put so much time into something and like until you finish it, like until you've put the most time you could possibly, but the most time into something to where you kind of like are comfortable with it. Yeah. Like you start to realize what you actually want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
till you become a master at it. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's a lifelong journey to become, you know, like a master.
No doubt.
I think there's that.
That's a fact.
What's that quote? I think is it Bruce Lee? It's some like kung fu artist where it's like, you're never called the grandmaster. You can't call yourself a grandmaster. You're called the grandmaster by others. Like, and that's when you become a grandmaster, is when people start calling you the grandmaster. You can't appoint that title to yourself.
I'm trying to look at that quote. I'm trying to look at that quote right now to see if.
I don't remember who wrote that.
I can't find it, man. It'll take me a while to find it and Google it.
Yeah, we can look it up later. I'll text it to you.
No doubt. So today is May the 11th, 2020, and we have 236 days left in this 2020 year. What do you hope to attain in 236 days?
Well, I'm sorry?
Say what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear the end. I heard the part with like how many days are left in the year, but I didn't hear that part after.
Yeah, what do you hope to attain in 236 days?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been working on an album actually, and hopefully I can, you know, release it by then.
Okay.
No, hopefully. Okay. I'm not trying to get it signed or anything, you know, to a record label, but I kind of want to just do it because I'm in that zone right now where I want to, you know, play piano and write lyrics and sing a little bit, produce on Ableton, you know, and I want to put it out there just so I can put it out there. And if anyone ever hears it and they like it, bang, there you go. But, you know, if nobody hears it, whatever. you know?
Yeah. I'll make sure it's heard.
Hey, thank you.
When it's out, let me know, and I'll put it on a segment in the podcast for sure.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Yeah, I can't wait for that day to come.
No doubt. Oh man, so I feel like there's a lot more we could dive into. Let me see if I have any. Oh, this is what I want to ask you. In talking about composition and orchestrating a record, a track, can you explain to me what the downbeat is? And the reason why I asked that, the reason why I asked that is this. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to the Joe Budden podcast, and they talk a lot of music structure, music composition, music everything, right? And you know, I spend a lot of time listening, but a lot of times I think that as an artist, you come into a lot of knowledge with just the experience and going through it, right? But I don't know how to explain the downbeat. My wife told me that she took a jazz class when she went to college, and I was watching a Ryan Leslie video the other day, and he was talking about the downbeat. Can you explain to me as a jazz player what the downbeat is?
Yeah, no problem. So in music, we've got like kind of like grooves that we feel, right? Like in most hip hop, you get like 4 beats to the measure.
Okay.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know, put whatever beat you want behind that if you'd like, you know. But each time that 1 hits, that's the downbeat, because that's the beginning of the measure. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and that would be the downbeat.
Yeah, that's a downbeat. Yeah, the downbeat refers to like the downbeat of, you know, like the measure. So like, so you could have like, let's say like a waltz. Now it doesn't matter what meter you're in or what kind of groove you're in. Like, you could be in whatever number you want. You could be like say, let's say you're waltzing, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You've got that 1 still there. Anytime it's 1, that's a downbeat. You can do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or stuff like that. You can do 7, like taka 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 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You know, it doesn't matter.
So the downbeat comes right after that 1 count.
It's right on the 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess a little fun fact for you too is
Go ahead.
I think jazz musicians like love to actually de-emphasize the downbeat, because, well, as you know, like you know, most music, like let's take hip hop for example. You have that beat of like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But every music that came before it, it was all like emphasis on 1 and 3. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But hip hop, that snare is not on 1 and 3. Hell no. You know, if you put that snare on 1 and 3, you're getting booed off. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Got. Got. 1. Got. 3. Got. So the emphasis now being placed on 2 and 4. And so now instead of emphasizing the downbeat with a snare that's like really loud, really prominent, we switch it over to 2 and 4 because it just feels better.
Okay.
Yeah. And in jazz, like, I mean, you'll play the downbeat, like in an improvised setting. Most of the time, if you would ever play the downbeat, it's to like check up on your other musicians, you know, like, because it's all improvised music, it can get kind of crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you can get lost real easily, but sometimes like musicians will check in on each other, being like, "Hey, you okay? You all right?" Like, and they'll hit like a downbeat super loud or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to be like, "Hey, this is where I am. Like, are you there?" And then, you know, you'll be like, the other musician may play like a really nice, like loud note or high note on the downbeat along with someone else, and that to us is like, "Oh yeah, we're still together. Thank God. You know, we're there."
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, man. You know, I have heard a few times, And again, I think that one of my strongest qualities is being able to stay in contact. And as you can tell, with this occurrence of this podcast, episode 65, man, again, I'm super appreciative that, it's real ballsy. And let me use a term that comes right off just to fit into the conversation. It's real ballsy to, try to promote yourself to somebody that you've never met before. Right. You know what I mean? And like I was telling my homegirl after I did the podcast, she let me stay at her spot and record my podcast, 3 episodes of my podcast. Shout out to my homegirl, Ajia Munns, who's out there in California. I was telling her, I came out here to get busy. You know what I mean? Because like I said before, I would have never imagined myself going to LA. Right. But LA just happened to be a place where all of my homeboys, all of my family members had eventually been to, except for me. So so it came at a point in time in my life where I needed to just jump and try to see what happens, right? And I'm still soaring, trying to touch my feet to the ground, trying to make headway, right? But just coming out to LA last year, and meeting you, man, I know that we will cultivate a relationship, whether it be working or definitely working, that will benefit both of us in the future. You know what I'm saying? So with that, man, most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next for you?
Yeah, man. Well, I wanted to first thank you. You know, man, I would have, ever since you told me about you had your podcast, I was looking forward to be on there. I remember that first conversation we had, in the drive-through. Like, yeah, I'll get you on. You were like, yeah, we'll get you on. And, here I am, a year later, as promised, man.
No doubt. Listen, as a creative, I know, man, we need platforms to be able to express ourselves. So for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We'll keep in touch for sure. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, man, what's next? I mean, the album is something that I would love to get done, right after this, I'm going to, go practice singing. I'm going to practice piano. I'm going to practice my trumpet. That's always next. That's always day by day, what I look forward to.
Yeah.
But, the 1 year plan is that album. That album's going to drop. The 5 year plan is like, man, maybe, Nas, you need an orchestrator, you need a trumpet player, you need a piano player, whoever, whoever like my heroes, Frank, you need an orchestra. I'll conduct for you. I'll play for you.
Yeah.
Whoever. But that's my plan. I want to. Oh, and also, there's this like Asian American label called 88 Rising.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get signed by you guys. Right, 88 Rising. You guys listening, Sean? I would love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna text you that. I'm gonna text and get that information that you just the 88 Rising. I wanna look them up, see what they're about. Tag them in this.
Oh
episode.
yeah. No, for sure. I'll definitely send you some of their stuff.
No doubt. Listen, man. So what I do now with the podcast, man, is I like to send a token to you for being on my podcast. It's in the form of a T-shirt. So I'm going to send you 2 T-shirts. When we get off the line, I'll text and get your address. I'll send you 2 T-shirts. One is an exclusive T-shirt that I give to every creative that comes on the podcast. And another one is the podcast themed T-shirt that I've made exclusive to all the creatives that come on the podcast, man, just as a token of appreciation for you being on the podcast.
Man, thank you so much, man. I've always been eyeing those shirts. So I was like, I want one. I'll rock the red one for sure.
No doubt, man. Hey, so anything else, man? Do you have anything else?
No, man. Just, for everyone out there in quarantine, just be kind to each other. A lot of crazy stuff's been happening. I keep up with the news and I don't like what I see. But just be kind to one another, and stay put. You can only help your fellow people by staying inside and, not doing anything stupid.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you said that. I want to take a moment of silence for Ahmaud Arbery, man. Yeah, man. I want to take a moment of silence for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to him, man. It's tragic.
Yeah, rest in peace, man.
What's definitely going on in society. We really should have started off the episode like that, but I'm glad that it fit and it wasn't forced into the conversation. So, again, rest in peace to him. He would have made, I think, 26 the other day. And so,
rest in power, man. Rest in power.
Most definitely, man. Listen, Marco, again, I appreciate you, man, for what this podcast has now gone into, talking to people that I've only met once in my life. And, man, say goodbye to the podcast, man.
Man, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. And, you guys have a good rest of your day, okay?
No doubt, man. I appreciate it. Houston, Texas. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Biggie, jiggle, puffy. All that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies. And them valleys, no Pilates. More way get you more wet. Nah, that's the Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal. I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like Ace of Base. Cheers to the one. Willie niggas. Who buy them bottles. And then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dog. 5 bottles. Why I need some drugs? I know I'm out of line. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. No breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Over and done. Overdose. Guess we gon' do it again.